So hello from Green-Mopeds in southwest London. So today we are taking out a Yadea G5s. Not to be confused with the G5 Pro. I'll come on to that in a minute. But Yadea, so one of the world's largest producers of electric two-wheel transport, push bikes, three-wheelers, mopeds, e-packs, etc, etc. They do millions of units a year, mostly in China. But this is the latest offering from the importer, which is Lexmoto, and we're adding it to our lineup, which hopefully will become apparent as to why in a little bit. But just to start off in the beginning of the sort of range itself, so the G5 lineup, there's actually three models. There's the standard G5, which we do, which you've probably seen on the reviews that we've done. Then there's something called the G5 Pro, and that is the same as the G5, other than it's got two batteries, 60 volt batteries. We aren't getting that one, as far as I can tell, although it might be something to consider, because it would obviously give you a bike with more range. But I guess Lexmoto have decided that they're not going to be doing that one. So both of those are 28 mile an hour bikes. And then you've got this one, which is the S. The S obviously stands for sport or something like that. So this is a L3E bike, as in a 125cc license, and it goes 50 miles an hour, and unlike the G5 or the Pro, it has a centrally mounted motor. Okay, so 3 kilowatt base, okay, and 4.1 kilowatt max. So 3 kilowatts is 4 horsepower, 4.5 kilowatts would be 6, so it's just under 6 horsepower. It's like 5.5 or something like that. Okay, so 5.5 horsepower, let's say. It's sitting on 72 volt batteries, so again, unlike the standard G5, they have put higher voltage batteries in it, not higher rated batteries from an amp hour perspective though. So this has got two 72 volt 20 amp hour batteries. So in other words, 72 volt with 40 amp hours total capacity. That's 2.8 kilowatt hours of juice, as we've said before. They have quoted a range of 70 miles. I can't in any way see that that's possible. I'm thinking more like 50, 55 sort of thing. Just based upon other bikes that we've got. I mean, the one that's sort of close to this in battery wise would be the Robo S. That has the same battery capacity, and they quote up to 90 mile range, and you definitely don't get that out of them. But that's a 3 kilowatt 50 mile an hour bike, so I'm thinking 60 for this bike, to be honest. Something like that. Okay, they've got one battery under the seat and one battery under the floor. So unlike the standard G5, you've lost that storage capacity that you had for a helmet or something like that. There is a rack available, so if you wanted to carry something, you've got the rack option. They have cleverly under the seat still left space for the charger, so you can at least take the charger with you. While we're talking about batteries and charging, there aren't many bikes that allow you to charge both batteries off the bike at the same time. NIU do it with their 2 battery bikes. That's about it. Most of the others, if not all, you have to buy 2 chargers or, swap over and things like that. Obviously, the reason to keep both batteries close in terms of charge is because a lot of these bikes, if they're out of sync, so in NIU's case, well, for a lot of them case, if the batteries are more than 20% out, then you lose power. As in, they knock you down to 28 mile an hour or something like that. So it is good to have both batteries within sync, and therefore obviously you want to charge them together and things like that, and you don't particularly want to get into a situation where one battery is being charged more than the other. So obviously most of the bikes you charge both batteries on the bike together through a charging port, and this one's no different. You can do that, but they've also provided a splitter, okay, like the NIU splitter. It's not as elegant, but it is a splitter. You get 2 leads that can go into both batteries off the bike, and you can charge them both together. It's let me see, 8 amp charging, I think. 6 hours they say for the charging, so and that would be both batteries, so obviously an overnight job. You can ride around on one battery just like with all the other bikes. I guess I need to try that to see what speed you get in with just one battery. Another couple of interesting things about this bike. One of the sort of advantages of a Yadea, if you're tall, is having a flat seat. So on the G5, in fact, someone came in and had a sit on one today, and he was 6'4", but he just sat further back because the seat's flat. He could sit where he liked, and he could still reach the handlebars. And they've also put this kink into the handlebars, okay, which means obviously the gap for your legs, your knees, is still there no matter how far you sit forward. So it's good for that, I have to say. If you're a taller person, there's lots of other reviews that we've done where we've shown me hitting my knees on the handlebars because a lack of kink or the ridginess seat has made you sit forward, and therefore you just bang your knees. You still have that ability on this bike, so I'm sitting as far back as I need to, but they have split the seat, as in there's no ridge. I mean, it doesn't elevate the rear part of the seat like a lot of these bikes do, but it is a separate little pad. I haven't quite worked out why they've done that. As far as I can tell, they could have kept it how it was before, just have one bigger seat. But they've, if on the static review, you'll see what I mean, that for some reason they've decided to split the seat. But it's not an issue, other than unless you wanted to sit there, and I'm 6'1", so 185, and I don't have an issue sitting on the seat at all. But it's just interesting that they've gone for this sort of split seat idea. As you can see around the dash, so we've got lights. So again, compared to the G5, this has changed a little bit. This has got 3 settings on the G5, which is basically one of those settings is actually superfluous because it's the ability to turn the lights off, which we can't do over here anyway. That's not allowed. But here they've got it down to lights here and then full beam here. At some point I'm going to have to turn on the indicators to let you know how that sounds, which is a bit of a bing bong sound, which someone came in the other day and actually said, why can't they make the sound be turned off, which is the opposite of what most people say. They want the indicator noise turned on, but some of the noises that these Chinese bikes make are a bit embarrassing, so you don't actually want to have the indicators on. But anyway, so yeah, around the dash you see you've got cruise control, horn, indicators, you've got your mode button. Interestingly, this bike has only got 2 modes, so as you see I am doing over 30 in mode 1. Okay, and that is basically my top speed in mode 1. I can't go any further, so 33 is the top speed in mode 1. And then I've got power mode, which will get me to my 50. I don't know if you can hear the noise. It's quite a subtle noise of the belt driving this bike, but there is a bit of noise if you prefer noise compared to silent running. Okay, so that's that. Obviously with a belt there will be a bit of maintenance long term, but they've fully enclosed the belt, which is the same as Ascol, if I remember rightly. So that should avoid getting stones in it and things like that, because one of the downsides of having a belt is you can get stones in between them, or grit, and that essentially knackers not only the belt but then both the sprockets. So we've got customers of TC Maxes, for example, where they've got a stone somehow or some grit into the actual belt, between the belt and the sprocket, and it's ripped out the teeth of the large sprocket at the back, but then has gone ahead and done the same thing to the small sprocket and the belt, which is, you know, relatively expensive to fix. But they've enclosed the belt on this bike, so you don't have that issue. Okay. The other things to tell you about this bike. So as you see on the dashboard, we've got indication of both batteries. So we've used up 10%. As I say, don't extrapolate, but I'm going to. This has done 7 miles on 10%. So, you know, you could therefore say, oh well, it's going to do the 70 miles that it states, but that was on slow road, so we'll see what happens when we get going. And you've got this amp meter down along the bottom here. Other things around the dash, you've got a USB port above the key, so you can charge your phone or what have you, and then a bag hook and a cubby hole. It's interesting that if you could to compare this bike to others sort of around the same price, one of them would be like an MQI GT, but it doesn't have any storage at the front, which in front of your knees, and I think part of that is because you are so close to the actual front of the bike, and they couldn't do that, or they decided not to. But anyway, so you've got 2 bits of storage on this bike down there, plus your bag hook, and then under the seat you've got space for the charger, which is about I would say 15 centimeters by 15 by 5, so not a lot of space, but you know, you can get a disc lock under there if you weren't taking the charger with you. Okay, this is running on 12-inch wheels, so some people prefer bigger, and they are the same size front and back, unlike Horwini K3, for example, that has bigger front and back, or a Super Socko CPX. But 12-inch wheels, so again, some people might prefer bigger wheels, but I don't have an issue with it myself. It's just that some people prefer it. Okay, so that's that. Obviously the weight of this bike is a little bit more than the standard G5, because it's got 2 batteries. The batteries are the same shape and size as the G5, but different rated, as I said. So let's just let that go. Okay, so in terms of colours and pricing, so what Yadea are doing, or maybe it's Lexmoto, is they are trying to offer more for the same, or in fact more for less. Okay, so in this case, what they're doing is they're offering a dual battery 50-mile-an-hour bike for less than anybody else of the brands that we do, let's say. Bearing in mind this is lithium, it's on the grant, you get the 3-year battery warranty, you get the 2-year bike warranty. So this bike, with the 2 72-volt batteries, and the fact that it's got 4.1 kilowatts and with the range and everything, this is still under £3,000. So only a bit. It's 2,979. The next nearest bikes you're going to get are the LX08, the Sunra Robo S, but they are all 3.2 and a bit and above. Okay, so if budget is your thing, and I mean, you know, there are, I guess, compromises with everything. Not a lot of compromises compared to a Robo S though. It's pretty similar, other than with a Robo S you do get storage because both batteries are under the floor. Okay, with this you would need to add on the rack. But with this one you do get charge both batteries off the bike, and with a Robo S you'd need a second charger to do the same thing. But both 50 mile an hour bikes, both with the same battery. This one's got more power but is belt driven, therefore the net in terms of performance and acceleration is probably about the same, because the extra power will be offset by the fact that you've got to deliver that power through a belt rather than through a hub. Okay, so this bike would really be, if you are to compare it, the Robo S would be the one you're comparing it to the most, or the LX08 also from Lexmoto, or Lueng is its other importer. Okay, but that's got 60 volt batteries. Okay, so yeah, that would be the nearest one to consider. The rest are just, you know, up to 800 odd pounds more. So whether you feel that that's worth the extra money, I guess you would have to decide by trying it. Okay, colours would be, I don't know if you can tell, this red, which is sort of like a maroon, red winey sort of red. Then they've got the graphite grey as they had before, and then white and black. Okay, as I said, 2,979. It has got a 3-year warranty on the batteries, 2-year warranty on 2-year warranty on the bike. And what we'll do is we'll just come back in a little while and show you what it's like flat out. We'll try and get it to do a speed test. Depends on if the roads will let me do that. But that's basically it for now. So we'll be back in a little bit to show you how it performs then. Okay. Okay, so here we are again on our way back, and we have a 50 mile an hour road in front of us and a 50 mile an hour bike. So what we're going to do is just see how quickly we get there. Hopefully the traffic will allow us to actually do this. While we're stationary, just thought I'd give you the sound of the indicators. Hopefully you can hear that. So we'll just look for a gap in the traffic and then go 0 to 50 and see what happens. Okay, let's go. Put the times up later. We are on a slight incline, but hopefully that won't affect us too much. So 30, 40, yeah, 50. Okay, well, we got there, so hopefully that will give you an indication. We'll put that up later. Obviously the acceleration of this bike won't be sort of as nippy as a hub motorbike, just because there's the transmission of power rather than just the out and out acceleration that you get with a hub motorbike, but that certainly seemed adequate to me. So you can see, I mean, cruising along at 45 now, no issues. I mean, I guess you know, you are on the 12-inch wheels, so that might be something that you might want to consider. It's possibly a bit more, you know, shaky a little bit, but otherwise perfectly fine. So it's got front and back discs, as you can see from the chambers here. Don't seem to have any issues doing 50 now. Slightly uphill, but I guess in summary, you know, 4.1 kilowatt max, less than £3,000, there isn't really anything in that sort of price bracket, especially with 2 batteries. I doubt it's going to do anything like 70 miles. I reckon 60 max, 55 probably more likely. Okay, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of some of the other bikes, so there's not an English app, let's put it that way. There is a Chinese app, which you can't connect to even if you wanted to, because you need a WeChat account. It does have an alarm, but no tracking like Socko or NIU. But on a positive note, you know, I don't have any issues being taller with the handlebars or the low seat height. It's lost the storage from the standard G5, but you know, for £3,000 there isn't really anything around for that much money, so definitely something for you to consider. And as you can see, it seems to have enough power to deal with things like 50-mile-an-hour roads without an issue. So I hope that helped you in your research. Obviously, please subscribe to our YouTube channel to follow up on any of these other reviews that we're going to do, such as the static review of this one, and we have actually quite a few to do now, so the MGT Evo is going to be coming soon. Any questions, please feel free to contact us at hello@green-mopeds.com or any of the other channels that we've got. More than welcome for a test ride if you'd like to have a test ride on this bike or any of the others, and thanks very much.